Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks for checking me out today. So I'm continuing with my Oscar coverage of 2019. If this is your first time checking me out, what I'm doing with this series is I'm watching and reviewing each movie that's nominated for Best Picture, and then afterward I do a prediction video, and I tell you who I think is going to win Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and so on. So today I'll be talking to you about this movie called Green Book. This movie, Green Book, was directed by Peter Farrelly. You might have heard of him before. He did movies like Dumb and Dumber and There's Something About Mary, which are all comedies. So to see him take on a dramatic movie like this was very surprising, but I think he handled it well. This movie stars Viggo Mortensen as Tony Lip. So Tony Lip is a no-nonsense take-in bouncer from the Bronx. He works at this club, the Copacabana. Probably heard of it before. But yeah, so he gets by with BSing and running his mouth and just outsmarting people. And if that doesn't work, he just uses his fists and has no problem punching you in the face. This movie also stars Mashershala Ali as Dr. Don Shirley. Dr. Don Shirley is a renowned prodigy of a piano player. He basically travels the world and plays his piano and puts on these concerts and all that sort of thing. So in, I guess, the orchestra world, he's really famous. And he does actually have doctorates. He has 3 doctorates, 2 in music and 1 in psychology. So he's actually a real doctor. So I'm pretty sure you've heard about the segregation era in the 1960s and all the racism and all that was going on. So I don't think I have to bore you and tell you about each time that, Dr. Don Shirley was called the N-word, or so to speak. But I think what separates this movie and makes it different than the other ones is, first and foremost, the character development. You start off with characters on opposite ends of the spectrums. Tony Lip, he had an instance where he had 2 black electricians in his house, and after they completed the work, his wife gave them glasses of water. Well, when they left, he took those glasses and threw them away. So I don't think he's the guy you wouldn't think he's the kind of guy that would take a black guy on a road trip. You had Dr. Don Shirley being this introverted, out-of-touch black guy who didn't really know about his own culture. I mean, he didn't know who Little Richard was. He didn't know who Ray Charles was. He didn't know who Sam Cooke was. Tony Lip knew who each of those people were. They were famous musicians at that time, some of whom played the piano even. So do you see what I mean? You have 2 different people who are on the opposite ends of the spectrum of life, not only with color or race, but just in general mentality and psychology. And I think Viggo Mortensen and Mashershala Ali do a great job of really defining these characters at the beginning and throughout this movie. So the story arc that they go on with Tony Lip being the guy that was throwing away glasses to by the end of the movie when he was at a family dinner and one of his relatives made a racist comment about, hey, how was it working with that toots, I think, or something he called him. And Tony Lip was like, hey, don't call him that. It was more impactful because over the movie, their characters didn't develop over one instance or one situation that changed their mind all of a sudden, but they developed over time and, I guess over bonding and talking and understanding that when at the end of the movie, when he stood up for him and said, hey, don't call him that, it was more impactful. Literally everybody at the table, his wife especially, turned and looked at him like, holy crap, something changed in this guy. And even with Dr. Shirley, he went from that introverted person who didn't know nothing about his culture to actually going and opening up and, going to a black club and playing music and really mingling with other black people. I know that sounds strange, but for him, it was a complete new experience. And even more so, he even went and joined Tony Lip and his family for their Christmas dinner, which is something he never would have done before because he never left pretty much his house that he had at the hotel. So yeah, both of those instances are more impactful by the character development that takes place throughout the movie, which is pretty much engineered by the great acting we see from both of these gentlemen. Now, the second part about this movie that makes it stand out to me is the directing. I think Peter Farrelly did a great job of storytelling and bringing this movie along smoothly, where it didn't primarily focus on racism and, things like that. It had racism in it and horrible situations that they went through, but I think primarily the focus was on character development. So as you are developing these characters and you're telling the story of this road trip, all of a sudden a racist incident will happen, and I think that makes it more shocking that they don't overtly focus the movie on racism, they focus the movie on characters and story. So then when a racist situation happened to you as a viewer, it's so few and far in between that it shocks you. So I think Peter Farrelly did a great job with that. And another aspect of this movie that I think he did a great job with is his comedic relief. There are about 3 or 4 instances in this movie that you're gonna laugh out loud, just with the sheer hilarity of the situations between these two. But I don't think in any means it takes away from the severity or the seriousness of the content of the movie. I just think Peter Farrelly and his comedic background that he has perfectly timed when he would deliver a joke or a funny scene or a funny situation. And I think he uses that throughout the movie in a great way. In all, I think you could put on an acting clinic or even a college course on how to be an actor or how to be a director if you watch this movie. This is one of the best movies so far nominated that I've watched of all of them, and I damn sure think that Viggo Mortensen or Mashershala are worthy of their Oscar nominations. Again, I think this movie is different from any other civil rights movie just based on those aspects of acting, character development, storytelling, and comedic relief that's well timed. But anyway, y'all, that's just my thoughts on the movie. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you've already checked it out. And don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel because that's much appreciated. Chasing 1,000 subscribers. Other than that, catch your ass out there in this universe. Peace.
What do we do about the bones?
We do this.
Pick it up, Tony.
Squirrels would have ate it anyway.
Pick it up.